This week, we are painting a Myphetic Blight-hauler. Hey guys, I'm Angela, and welcome back to another Hobby Night episode. This week, Games Workshop announced the Death Guard Codex, as well as 3 Space Marine supplements, which those are very cool, but I care about that Death Guard Codex. I also especially care about that Chaos Lord that they previewed, which is going to be buffing Daemon Engines. So I thought, I like to run Blight-haulers in my army, and I have a couple unpainted. So today, I'm going to show you how I'm painting up my Myphetic Blight-hauler for my Death Guard army. Let's get straight to it. We started by priming the miniature in Wraithbone because it's the warmer of the 2 primers that are meant for contrast paint, and we're primarily working with a lot of warm color tones. So he looks good, I've got a good coverage, and we're gonna start by applying Militarum green contrast paint to the armor of the entire miniature. We are going to be a little careful to avoid getting this too much onto any of the fleshy bits, but we're not really gonna care if we cover any of the symbols on the armor because we'll do a cleanup stage later to get those ready for their next colors. And as you can see, we've done our cleanup, everything is looking good, and we can move on to doing a little bit more of the detail work. Starting with Plaguebearer Flesh and Magos Purple, we're going to put this on the big bulbous fleshy part of the demon sticking out the back. I'm going to start by layering on the purple color tone, and then later on what I'm going to end up doing is blending a little bit of the sort of yellow-greenish color of Plaguebearer Flesh around where you see those exhausts coming out of his skin to sort of give it a goopy, like slimy look with some very easy wet blending. Like I'm about to do here with Poxwalker Flesh. Or Plaguebearer Flesh. So the fleshy bits on the back are looking good, but we want to make sure we don't neglect the fleshy bits on the front of the miniature as well, so we're going to make sure to get the little mandible claws that he's got poking out of his face, as well as the little bit that circles his eye, because he actually has a little mechanical eye shoved into some like fleshy mass there in the center, so we're going to grab that as well with a fine detail brush. With our flesh finished, we're going to go ahead and do one final touch-up stage before we really get into all of that armor trim and detail work, because we got a little bit of purple on all of those rings that are going around and holding that flesh to the armor, so we want to make sure those are nice and clean because we're going to put a bright orange on them later. Next, I'm going to attack its treads with Basilicanum Gray, and we're also going to make sure to get the little ring that's around the eye socket area there, because I want to tie that into the tread color tone as well and separate it from the orange that I'm going to be doing on the trim. While I was working on the little bit that surrounds the eye, I actually had used and switched to a much smaller brush, as you can see here, but what I actually plan on doing with the eye color-wise, it really doesn't matter. I could have been a lot sloppier and used a bigger brush to get better coverage a lot sooner, and it probably would have been a lot faster, so make sure to keep in mind what your future colors are going to be. Now, I've talked about it a bit. We're going to go ahead and move on to the trim and paint it in that bright Gryph Charger orange, and make sure to get all of these pieces. It takes a little bit of time. I actually spent the majority of my time doing this trim work because there's a lot of it, and I wanted to make sure I got a really nice coverage because it really pops against the green. And especially with the front, I wanted to make sure it was nice and clean and just looked amazing, and I think I did pretty well.
Angela! What is all this?
I might have a problem. I have too many minis to paint, and not enough subscribers to encourage me to do it, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos. Now it's time to move on to the weapons, and we're going to start by applying a simple layer of Black Templar over basically all of the weapons, simply because what we're planning on doing is we're going to dry brush them later to give it a sort of corroded oxidation look with a really bright blue. And so this black is going to give a nice pop against that color and keep everything pretty simple going forward. Now he's looking pretty awesome. I'm very happy with how it's going, and we're going to keep pushing forward by using Skeleton Horde now. And this we're going to apply to all of the things that you think it will be. Those smokestacks at the top that sort of look like bone. We're going to apply this to the teeth, of course, as well. But I also want to apply this to the missile pods because I really wanted to emphasize that organic and metal combination that you get out of Nurgle a lot because of the life-death sort of nature of the Chaos God. So I really wanted to push that and make the missiles kind of look like egg pods, and I thought the Skeleton Horde accomplished that really nicely. Now, it's time to get on to all the goopy, like, hanging bits on him that are sticking out like guts that are also weirdly electronic. And we're gonna cover them with Volupus pink and really just add to that sort of fleshy look that we sort of captured with the purple, but give them a little bit of a more red tone, like they're sort of dripping in blood. We're also going to use this color in the sort of cracks in his carapace, showing all of that damage. Everybody's favorite part is next, the boils. So we're going to take our Iyanden yellow and apply this to all those little poxes and the little vein on his fleshy bits and everything to give it a really sinister and like plaguey look because, well, it's Nurgle. We want him to look as goopy and plaguey and gross and like you don't want to get near him as much as possible. Next, we're gonna go ahead and work on his cute little cyclopean eye and apply a base coat of Stormhost Silver to help us achieve our gem effect that we're going for with our next step. The paint that we're going to be using to get that gem effect is Spiritstone Red. This is a really cool technical paint that, when applied over top a metallic, gives you this glossy sort of gem appearance, and it works super well with these bug eyes because it just gives it this sort of glazed, bug-like appearance, and I really, really like it. The Blight-hauler is almost finished, but he needs a base to sit on, so I pre-primed my base in Tallarn sand, and now we're going to take our Armageddon Dust texture paint and just spread that over everything, making sure to, of course, clear the little holes where his pegs will go so that we can actually get him on there. While I'm waiting for the texture paint on my base to dry, I'm going to go ahead and apply the finishing touches to the Blight-hauler himself. And we're going to start by putting Reikland Fleshade over essentially everything except for the gray and black bits on the miniature. This paint ended up doing amazing things for the green color tone. I was debating between doing a second or actually third layer of the Militarum green, but ultimately decided to use this Reikland Fleshade to darken that tone just a little bit and really get the color I was wanting to go for. Now we're going to move on to the treads and go ahead and wash those in Nuln oil. We're going to not necessarily do this to the black Templar that we put on the guns. It's really unnecessary as, like I said, we're going to be doing a dry brush effect to them, and I think they already have some good depth there. Next is the dry brush that I spoke about earlier. We're going to be using the dry paint called Skink Blue, and it's this really bright blue that I absolutely love to get that corrosive look, like I said, and it also helps unify my army, because I've done this sort of technique on almost all of the weapons for most of the Death Guard miniatures that I have painted for my army, and it really helps tie them together and give it this really nice pop, so I always know exactly what I'm running on my miniatures, because I tend to run them WYSIWYG, and I really just love the effect that I get with it. I think it comes out beautifully. Last but not least, we have our final wash to apply, and we're going to use Agrax Earthshade over the entire base and just get a really nice brown color tone. And here he is. Isn't he great? My cute little bug boy. And I am really, really happy with this came out. So I've done one other of these previously, and it ended up being a lot darker because I layered the Astra Militarum green very heavily. And in this instance, I got it perfect. This is the exact coloring that I was wanting for him. I really loved what I did with the missiles in here. I painted them that skeleton horde color, and it makes me think of like little pods or like eggs that it shoots out, and then like spores or like gross plague stuff comes out of it. So I'm very pleased with all of that. I had a lot of fun painting this guy. I am probably going to paint the other one up actually pretty quickly because I want to have a set of 3 of them. I've got the one finished already. I now have this guy, and so there's one left to do. And between that and that new miniature, I'm hoping I get some good buffs. I'm hoping that they'll be fun in Crusade. I've used them a little bit in the few games that we've played already, but it's really exciting to have another one done. And maybe I'll even paint a bigger tank sometime soon, because it was a lot of fun, like getting into these like big details and doing all that stuff and getting away from some of the smaller details of the characters. So we'll see what happens, but I hope you guys have enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of how this guy came out and what you might be most excited about for those new previews that we got this Saturday. And I'll see you next time for more videos. Bye guys.